Big Brown Horse Podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Panels and Bars, the show where we talk about geek culture and sometimes hip-hop culture. And this week we are discussing the sad decline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah,
Patrick,
we're going
what
to
are your
bury it.
thoughts?
So I thought what we could do is obviously we did a lot of Marvel content going through, and I'm still watching, but I'm fucking sick of it, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I thought we could just this could be like our final Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, because I don't want to do it anymore.
So on my other podcast, you finished that. We were discussing Secret Invasion. And knowing we were going to discuss Secret Invasion, my co-host Triz, he was like, well, should we do it? And I was like, yeah, sure we should. And this is before either of us has seen an episode. And, I don't love the original comic, but I love the idea of it. And I love the cast, really talented cast. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And the first week, I had watched 2 episodes and Triz hadn't watched any. Then eventually he caught up. And so I knew I needed to catch up. And that was the first thing. I can't remember a time in Marvel history where I've had to catch up. Yeah. Because, whenever these things come out, I'm excited and I want to watch it. I had to force myself to watch 3 and a bit episodes. And then I just said, you know what, this is going to be really embarrassing when we record the podcast, but I don't care about this show. Yeah. I just don't care. It's been the first time. So I know what happens in the finale because Twitter spoiled it. And it's the first time I don't care about that. I've actually heard good things about
it for a while, I think.
Well, I've heard good things about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I've actually managed to avoid spoilers, and I am looking forward to watching it now streaming. But that's the first thing in a long time. I saw lots of Ant-Man and the Wasp spoilers, didn't care. I saw spoilers for this, like I said, I didn't care. Because I don't care about any of these characters, I don't care about these storylines, I'm not invested. And it's not fatigue, because you and I have been reading comics since pretty much both of us could read, and we still love reading the comics. So it's not fatigue of the characters, it's not fatigue of the storylines. If anything, it's the opposite. The comics are showing that even after decades and decades before you and I even were interested, there is so much you can do with all of these characters. There are so many places you can go. There are so many new formulas you can create. Yet Kevin Feige and his crew seem to be stuck on one formula, and it's wearing thin. I just don't care about any of these characters anymore.
Yeah, it also blows my mind that they haven't learned anything. A lot of the problems I have are problems that I have towards the end of an era of comic books, and they haven't in any way learned any of those lessons.
No.
And they're just doing exactly what comics do when they get shit. But no, I thought what we could do, because the last podcast that we did was when we talked about Shang-Chi and Eternals, right? Okay. So I figured we could go through everything that's come out then and just one sentence it. Do you know what I mean?
This is going to be very depressing, but yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, cool. So first is Hawkeye. What do you think of Hawkeye?
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's the best of the Disney Plus shows, and Florence Pugh and Kate are both good.
Yeah.
Cool. Spider-Man No Way Home. Now there's 5 Spider-Mans.
Hey, you like nostalgia? We got 3 hours of nostalgia for you.
Yeah, it reminded me of Rogue One, where it was hey, remember this thing? Don't you like this thing? And that was a bit well, some of those things I do like enough that I want to watch this, like Andrew Garfield. But a lot of the other things I was all no. And
it was a fantastic movie-going experience. I actually really enjoyed it. I had a crowd full of people that got all the memes and laughed at the appropriate moments, and everyone cheered. And that was a really fun movie-going experience. I've not watched it since, and I don't feel any desire to watch it since, because I think it was made purely for that experience. I can't imagine sitting at home for 3 hours and enjoying it again.
Yeah, it's also, I felt like I missed Peter's friends from school and the stuff that they actually set up in the first 2 Spider-Man films, which I would have appreciated carrying through into the third one, but they just abandoned it all to fill it with fucking Tobey Maguire.
Plus, I know obviously we're going over one sentence sum up, but a big problem I have with that film is it's the thing about the nostalgia thing, it leans so heavily on it, and I think what's most evident is the fact that none of the rules are explained. No. It's really just that, don't think about it, just enjoy it. It's one of those things. And it's actually, if I'm going to buy into this, maybe I should know how any of this works or what the stakes are or the consequences. It's not really explained how the spell went wrong, what that means. It's not explained really what Peter's reverse what the end means? Do people remember Peter Parker but don't remember he was Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Does no one know who Peter Parker is?
It's stupid,
What happened?
yeah.
It's stupid, and they'll probably clear it up at some point, but it's like, I don't know, it just felt rushed, and it was like, don't think about it, enjoy the fact that these things that you like are here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, it's fine. It's the I think I like it least of the 3 Spider-Man movies, which given that the second one was Spider-Man
Not
goes
that great.
to Europe and hangs out with fucking Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, I think it's impressive that it was. I like it less than that. So next is Moon Knight. Moon Knight. How was Moon Knight for you?
Wasted potential.
Yeah, my feedback on Moon Knight would be, I don't care if you write a reason in why the accents are so bad; they're still bad.
What do you mean? Don't all British people shout at us?
Like, cast somebody who can do an English accent, or don't ask him to do an English accent. It's fine. Either is okay.
Well, I mean, listen, Marvel, and it's so weird that they chose this project to do that, because for years most Marvel projects have just been English people who do really good American accents.
Yeah.
So why not just stick to what works?
When I saw the Moon Knight trailer, I saw a tweet that said, "I wonder if the rest of Daphne's brothers are going to be in it," and that is pretty much
spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. So boring and stupid, Moon Knight. Although I liked that big hippo that he met. It wasn't in it for very long, but like I enjoyed the level of absurdity.
So when we get into more depth with these, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Some of these have some of the best side characters ever. Yeah. There is a side character called Madison in a show that we'll get to, who has been one of my favorite parts of the recent MCU. Other than that, yeah, the actual shows themselves aren't great.
Yeah. So next is Doctor Strange in the Universe of Screaming Women.
Fine. It's fine.
I don't like Doctor Strange, and I don't like Sam Raimi. So for me, and they ruined Wanda, who's like the only character in it who I liked. So
the thing about Wanda, right? And I can totally understand her getting to that place, right?
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they earned it.
Yeah, I can totally understand her getting to that place, but it was weird to have put her in a different place at the end of the last thing she was in.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then try and bridge it with a shit post-credit scene. Yeah, it was like there was so many women screaming, and it was so stupid. Also, if you're going to do a multiverse film, maybe more than 2 universes and don't have them look the same. You know what I mean?
Because apparently one of the screenwriters for this was a screenwriter for Rick and Morty, and it's like, did you just use all your good universe ideas for that show? Because we barely, for a movie that's billed as the multiverse of madness, we barely see anything.
It reminded me of, that bit where they fall through all the different universes that look different. It reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, when he tells stories about a lot of things that looked more interesting than the film we were watching.
Yeah.
In that moment where they were falling through, I was all like, that place looks cool. Wish that was in the film. It would be more interesting.
I mean, there's one moment when he's like, it's a throwaway joke, but it's like, was that universe where we were all made of paint? And it's like, how does that work? What are the physics? What do you do? What are your job? What's your job if you were just a splash of paint? I would like to see that. But instead, we go to one other universe where he happens to be dead.
Yeah, we go to the universe where there's slightly different people in the Avengers and more plants. Like, exciting. It was like, I did like America Chavez. I thought the casting was good and she was fun. She didn't have anything to do.
No.
And that bit where they went into the room and there was the staircase that went up forever, that looked nice, didn't it? It was all right. That's pretty much my whole thing on it. What's after that? Miss Marvel.
Starts off good, lost interest afterwards.
Yeah, I like all the stuff with her family, but I don't like all the stuff that isn't with her family.
So you know what? One of the things I really liked about it was the visual flourishes at the beginning, where her like sketchbook was intertwined with the real world, and then they just seemed to forget that was a motif that they established.
Yeah, that cool visual motif that they gave up on at the end of episode 2. I thought all the stuff, and I thought that seeing an Asian family and those dynamics was really interesting. That's unusual for mainstream superhero shit.
Completely,
crap CGI fight at the end, as with all MCU things. And
also, here's the thing, right? This new crystal power they've given her is boring, and I understand they think the general public is too stupid to be like, there's 2 stretchy people. Like, I understand that, but if you can't give her the Mr. Fantastic power she already has, give her something more interesting than I can make slightly bigger hands out of crystals. It's boring.
Yeah, I can't believe they changed her powers and still gave her big stupid hands. Like when I assumed that they were just trying to avoid her having the big stupid hands, but no, she's still got them. They're just
the general consensus seems to be that because Fantastic Four is around the corner, and they generally think the general public are idiots. They don't want to risk people being confused. Is she related to him or blah blah? So
right.
Who knows?
Well, yeah,
especially as there's a chance that then the MCU Mr. Fantastic might not be white. So
yeah, but some nice ideas, but fell apart about halfway through.
Yeah.
I think. Then there's Thor 4, More Thor, which you and me saw together at the cinema, didn't we? I came to London to see that with you.
So whilst we didn't because we don't talk about that.
I thought it was all right.
It was fine. I like the Screaming Goats. It hasn't held up well.
I like the Screaming Goats. I know that people don't like them, but I thought they were funny.
I really like the Screaming Goats.
And I thought it was fine. It's very similar to Love and Thunder, which is why I find it weird that it got such
But I don't think it is, because Love and Thunder, and Taika Waititi, he gets a reputation as a style over substance guy. And whilst that film is very glossy and very visually appealing, there is stuff to it. And even beyond all the jokes, it has some really good moments, especially like Thor and Loki have some really good moments together.
Yeah,
and, there's a real breakthrough in terms of, because their relationship is kind of pitched as Loki just can't be trusted and Thor's done with him. And it's like, no, I love you, but I'm not stupid enough to keep trusting you. And they really delve into that, but there's nothing even close to that in the third film.
I think the fourth one kind of suffers from everyone Thor's ever met being dead. Every supporting cast member that he's ever had is dead. And it's and then they're like, we'll bring Natalie Portman back. And she was fine, but...
She was fine, yeah.
And yeah, it's I don't know.
Well, someone, I think it was the Weekly Planet podcast, they kind of summed up the fact that the two stories that Love and Thunder is based on were year-long arcs, if not longer. They were arcs that built over time, especially Jane. She gets the diagnosis, and I think we as the reader sit with it for a long time before Thor finds out, even some of her friends. And I think month by month, she gets paler and she loses hair. So it really hits you. This person is going to die. And so there's a real catharsis and surprise and sense of relief when she gets Mjolnir and she's powered and she's living again. It and then obviously you can't have a TV show with Thor like that cast too big, the budget probably be too big. But I don't know how you do it, but you can't try and condense that into a 2-hour film, especially with an actor you haven't had in these films for ages, and expect people to connect with it. It just felt rushed, and because we're also becoming so what's the word? I think we're just, because it's so formulaic at this point. I can't even buy into her being back because I know she'll be gone by the end of the film.
Yeah.
And that it's subconsciously that sits with you, and I think this is the problem now. Like, it's all these things you're telling me. I knew at the time when I was watching them how they were all going to end, and there was always that element with the initial phases, but it was in a fun way. Like, of course, Iron Man's going to win. That's a given, right? But you didn't know how. But with all these ones, I'm like, I know how this is going to happen. I know. Yeah. I think the only surprise in any of these so far was maybe in WandaVision when. I mean, obviously there was a dumb, stupid CGI fight, but I like Vision talking to the other Vision.
Yeah, that was fun.
I want more of that type of thing,
Yeah. I would say, though, I definitely enjoyed it more than Doctor Strange, probably more than the third Spider-Man, more than Eternals, more than Black Widow, which puts it second in this selection of films for me, despite the fact that I would say it's at best okay. Shang-Chi is the only one so far that I've liked. And in fairness, with some time and space, at least Eternals was so bad it was funny. Like I've talked about Eternals loads, and I laugh about it with Logan all the time in a way that I just don't even think about most of the other ones. So next is She-Hulk.
I'm gonna say wasted potential again.
I liked it. She-Hulk I thought was fun. It was funny.
So I'll tell you the problem I have with it. Right, I think you like sitcoms nearly as much as I do. Right. It's not a sitcom, and I think this was my big problem with it. It was billed and pitched as Marvel's first sitcom, and it's not a sitcom. It's the usual Marvel formula with some jokes sprinkled in. And you and I have watched more than enough sitcoms to know that the best sitcoms have a certain formula that works, and we know how things get wrapped up at the end. And I think some of the best sitcoms, what they do really well is it's that thing of this character says something, this character says something, and you as a viewer already know this is going to happen. You know, hilarity ensues, all gets wrapped up. She-Hulk didn't have that. It was the same Marvel formula. Hero's doing something, villain turns up, conflict, hero thinks of a way around it at the end. And it's like, you can't put that in a courtroom and think I don't realize what you're doing. You're doing the same thing you've been doing for 10 years. It's not a sitcom. And she's a fantastic actress. I love the fact they actually got Mark Ruffalo back for it. Some of the cameos were great. Madison is one of the best Marvel side characters ever.
Yep.
But it's not a sitcom. And it really just frustrates me because once again, Kevin Feige is too scared to take risks. If there was ever a show where you really could have fully taken a risk and had like, especially because we know she breaks the fourth wall and she's in on the cliches herself. I don't know. And I read some of the writers. I've read like some of their past works. Sorry, I got a pop up and I can't multitask. And very few of them actually have a background in comedy.
Yeah.
Why aren't you hiring people from 30 Rock? Why aren't you, Donald Glover is a self-proclaimed massive geek. Why don't you get him involved in this?
Yeah, whereas I went in, I didn't know what to expect. And
yeah.
I thought that I liked her.
See, I went in with high expectations because the book is fantastic. The book is so funny and so clever. Yeah, of course.
Why would you possibly think that it was going to be as good as the comic it's based on? That's never happened.
Yeah, stupid me.
Except when the comics are shit, like Iron Man comics, and then sometimes the movies are okay. Because they've got nothing to work with, so they have to come up with something of their own. I liked them. I liked the cast, and I thought it was fun. I enjoyed the last episode, but it really dragged around the middle. And that's probably it. It's fine. Yeah. It's probably, I think it's along with Hawkeye, it's my favorite of the Disney Plus shows. But again, it's not exactly a high bar.
No.
Next is Werewolf by Night.
Didn't watch it.
Yeah, me neither.
Might be good, who knows?
Sweet, okay. Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
I actually really enjoyed it.
I would say I enjoyed half of it. I really liked the story about loss and grief and sadness, and Angela Bassett was great.
She was fantastic. I actually think it's a travesty she didn't win the Oscar.
Yeah, I like the design of Namor. Yeah. I did not like the CGI blue fish suits or most of the stuff with the actual fighting with the Atlanteans. I thought that was really boring. And it felt like two films, and one of them I enjoyed and the other one was dog shit. So I came out roughly neutral, I guess, on the whole thing.
I liked a lot of it. I think it has the same problems in a way as Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is that it hints at some really interesting political ideas. One of them being the CIA being perfectly happy to let these two minorities destroy each other so they can just swoop in and steal the resources. And also things like France being like, we want vibranium. We don't deserve it, but we want it. Those type of things. But because Marvel can't risk sponsorship or 7-Eleven tie-ins, they hint at those ideas. They flirt with those ideas and they don't pursue them any further than, one meeting or something like that. And it's like, just have some balls.
I would say that I'll forgive it a bit more because they've at least got an excuse because the main character died and they had to rewrite it. So, I guess it's mildly more forgivable that it's a bit shit, I guess. Yeah, next is Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
I enjoyed it.
I haven't watched it. No idea what happens in that. Okay, then we're on to Ant-Man and the new Ant-Mans going off to Tiny Land. That was very realistic.
Thank you. It's because I had a flashback of the movie.
Yeah, it was like
it's not good. It's also so nowhere near the other levels. But this is also one of those movies where there's an idea in there that if you could even be bothered to explore, like one of the things that I love is there's a point in the quantum realm where Scott is in a room where he's surrounded by the potential avenues he could take. And that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And especially when you've got someone like Paul Rudd, who is very good at comedy, and it's kind of all this different range of emotions of, oh, I'm scared about that. And, you know, it ends in a very schmaltzy way, which is that they all suddenly work together because his daughter is the one thing they can agree on. There's hints of good things like that. And once again, it's a bit like the Multiverse of Madness. You spent years telling me, oh my gosh, the quantum realm is so weird. And in the quantum realm, trees grow people and weed smokes you. Like all these amazing things. You don't really see them other than a cafe where, ooh, that man's hat is curly. It's, you know?
It was like the worst episode of Rick and Morty ever.
This is it.
But on that basis, it was still okay compared to, at least it wasn't boring. There was some ideas that I thought were interesting. I enjoyed the some of the side characters.
I think Jonathan Majors was pretty amazing given the material he had to deal with.
I think he was pretty good, even though, like, we're not sure whether he's an arsehole or not. It seems odd to me to have an Ant-Man film where there's no growth. I guess there's technically shrinking, but they're all shrinked all the time. They're all shrunk.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was Michael Douglas looked like he was even more bored of it than he was last time.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know. It was fine, I guess, but not good.
So I think here's the thing, right? And this is a problem I've had for a long, long time. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again because the industry seemingly will not learn. Not everything has to be an event, right? And I can understand every Captain America movie being an event because he's Captain America. He's this marquee character. He's huge. The stakes are huge. Same thing for Iron Man. You know, if you want to talk about the real world implications of these type of characters, they invite that chaos. They invite huge, monstrous people who want their tech or want their power or whatever. So I can understand them, the tentpole characters, leading these huge franchise, universe-altering things. But the only way those have any kind of impact is if they are, what's the word? Kind of complemented by smaller scale, street level type. And the thing is now, they have expanded enough where you have those characters. That's why of the MCU Spider-Man films, Homecoming is still my favorite, because the stakes are, will he get to prom on time? They're not, will he stop the universe from being destroyed? And I think Ant-Man, especially this version of Ant-Man, who was a petty thief, he is the type of person he shouldn't be dealing with realms and all this crazy. I like that they've used Pym particles to introduce that, but really, have him stop a heist or have him have to pull his own heist to get something back a villain stole. Those are the best uses for a character like that. And the thing is, as much as I love Paul Rudd, I also don't think he has quite the range to carry some of the emotion that comes in a film where it's like you're dealing with the burden of saving a universe and your daughter. It's too much. And it doesn't really fit for the character. So for me, just have someone steal something that shrinks things and he wants to unshrink them. That's it.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to save all the universes all the time.
Also, why would you take a franchise that's got that guy Michael Pena, who tells the stories in the first two that everybody loves, and then be all like, yeah, no, fuck him. Fuck having him in it. Like, why
also,
why...
Lil Nick Pitt, and this is another Marvel doesn't really want to explain the rules to you. It's my understanding in the first film that whatever the properties of something are, they retain those properties when they're shrunk, which is why Scott can knock out grown men when he's in Ant-Man form. Yet in the second film, Michael Douglas shrinks a building and wheels it around with him. He shouldn't be able to do that.
Also, if that's the case, surely when they were shrunk to like quantum level, they'd just be able to like decimate the world with a flick of their finger.
It's so inconsistent.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's crap. But like low mid crap. Not like
it's
bottom
not
of the
unwatchable
barrel crap. Yeah,
it's not unwatchable. If on a rainy day if there was nothing else on, I'd be like, fair enough.
Yeah, and then there's Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which you haven't seen, right?
No, I'm going to see it tonight.
It's really good. It's really, really good. It's probably not as good as the second one, but I like the second one more than the first, which makes me a weirdo. So
yeah, it does make me a weirdo.
And it's got Nebula in it a lot, which is why I like the second more than the first, and why I like this one. It's quite brutal. It's got some fun messages. It's easily the best of the film since Endgame by a huge colossal margin. It's fun, and I care about the people in it, and it's got a really lovely ending. It's great. It's the only. I mean, I think that what the point that I've seen a lot of people make is that it's good, but we all know he's leaving, and we're not going to get any more films about those people or like that. So it's kind of, as a standalone thing, I would very much recommend it, but it doesn't give me any faith in the wider MCU.
Yeah.
Cool. And then there's Secret Invasion, which you didn't watch all of, right?
No, I know how it ends, and it's a stupid ending for stupid characters in a stupid show that they think is going to be watched by stupid people, so they're insulting us.
Yeah, Secret Invasion. There's a bit in the last episode where he makes out with the Skrull, and that was quite good. I liked that. It was funny. She's got all like pointy teeth and bald, and she's got big pointy ears, and the whole way through she's been all like, "Would you still love me if I had my horrible goblin face?" And he's all like, "I know, maybe." And then in the last episode, she goes back to goblin face, and he's all like, "Yeah, I love you," and then makes out with the Skrull, and that was fun. The rest of it's shit, and it's so shit that I would say it's like it's as like my least favorite is What If, but outside of that, I'd say it's probably Falcon
and the thing is,
Winter Soldier.
These are both really good concepts. You've just mentioned Secret Invasion and What If. They're both really good concepts, but they were thought of, they're afterthoughts. So both of those things, I think, to really have an impact, they should have been thought of way ahead of time. Like, I know, obviously, they didn't know what the MCU was going to become, but if they had the foresight to sit down and say, let's plan someone who's going to be a Skrull now and let the actor know you're going to have to come back at some point, there could really be an impact. But as much as I love Don Cheadle, no one cares about Rhodey being a Skrull because you haven't done anything with Don Cheadle's character for the past decade.
Yeah, also, I don't care about anybody in it.
Exactly.
And it keeps telling me who the Skrulls are. Like, there was no point at which it was all like, oh, who's a Skrull? Because it kept on being all like, I am, over here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, that's not really what I was expecting. I would say at least What If had one episode that I enjoyed, and this didn't. I would say I think it's worse than Captain America, Falcon, and the Captain America's shit friends.
Here's the thing, right? At least that had, like, it's got the memeable moments, and there was some good action scenes in it at some point, and there was stuff in it that I was like, okay, there's potential here, but I didn't find any of that in Secret.
In Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that's kind of
and the exploration of Falcon basically being broke despite being one of the most famous superheroes in the world. I really liked that. And, you know, I think they kind of played it for laughs, unfortunately, but Bucky trying to make amends and live a normal life.
Yeah, it's got some stuff, whereas this
is some stuff. This is nothing. It's nothing. And it's a waste of Samuel L. Jackson, who's such a gifted actor and who actually loves these characters. In Maria Hill, she just dies. It's not a twist. It's
stupid. I wouldn't recommend it to
anybody with eyes.
Any reason.
And
I wouldn't. And if you're determined to watch it,
don't.
I would say going with the lowest expectations possible, and don't
watch it.
And maybe it'll be
don't
funny
watch
when
it.
Samuel L. Jackson
Watch
makes
James Gunn's
Alien.
Super. Watch James Gunn's Super. Watch James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Watch anything else apart from this. Go and watch the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer by Joss Whedon. Go and watch that. Don't watch this.
What I was going to say is, what you should go
watch
and
Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. I bet you haven't watched Michael Jackson's Moonwalker in a long time. Go watch that. Don't watch this.
What I would say is you should watch the Netflix Marvel shows that are on Disney Plus now.
Yes.
And I've been watching back through them because I thought maybe I just hate all of this stuff. And maybe I always hated it, and I was just maybe all my memories of enjoying any of it were lies. That's how bad it's been recently.
Yeah. See, I nearly had a rewatch, and I don't want to because I'm going to remember how good Daredevil is, even the not good series, and I'll get really excited, and then Marvel will break my heart with the new Daredevil, which I know is going to be Disney Plusified, and I won't like it.
I would say
and that's an upsetting thought.
Watch Secret Invasion. And then Iron Fist, because I tell you what, everybody says Iron Fist's bad, but it's fine, it's okay. Like it's kind of weird to have a martial arts show where nobody can do martial arts. I'm not 100% sure how they came to that.
So it's funny because I think a lot of people have said that, and I think people are giving the show more credit than it actually deserves. But obviously, Colleen she's really talented and she's really smart. And I think a lot of people are saying it's a statement on how the lead actor is a straight white male, and he's basically gets top billing, even though he's the least talented person on the cast. And it's like, that is a very funny commentary, but I don't think that's what that is. I think that is literally a case of just that happening.
Yeah. And like the second half of Daredevil season 2 with the hand, which I remember being terrible, is fine. It's all right.
It's fine. You know what it is? It's that show establishes such a high bar that when it dips, it feels terrible. But yeah, it's watchable.
But I've got to say, rewatching it dips for a couple of episodes, and then Punisher and Kingpin come back, and it's fine.
And John Bernthal is such a good Punisher.
Yeah, it dips for a couple of episodes, but it's all right.
Can Marvel just give Garth Ennis however much money is needed for him to just write an MCU Punisher film?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Like, just get the guy who directed John Wick to do it. Get Garth Ennis to write it. John Bernthal's back. Throw a ton of money at them. Listen, you'll make $100 billion because I will watch it as many times as I'm allowed to. Me alone, I will help you get your budget back.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm watching Defenders now, which is also, I mean, it's not brilliant, but hey, it's got like a plot and stuff is happening, and it's carrying on the stories from the 4 shows it's following on from in a way that I'm sure will impact the later seasons, and it's fun seeing the characters interact in an Avengers style way, but with much lower, much fewer people and stuff, and Sigourney Weaver's pretty good, and like all in. I mean, the only thing that annoyed me was I've not watched the last 2 episodes yet, but there was a bit where I thought that what would be its benefit was that not only has it got established leads, but it's got established supporting casts. Yeah. So I was all like, oh, well, that'll be fun, because they won't need to establish supporting cast because they'll just use the ones from the other 4 shows. But it doesn't do that. They're not in it, really, which is really weird. There was a bit where they all got taken to the police station to hide from ninjas, and Misty was there, and Trish and Malcolm were there from Jessica Jones, and Foggy and Karen were there from Daredevil, and Iron Fist's friend was there, and then Luke only has Claire because everybody else he knows is dead. And
the funny thing is, he doesn't even really have Claire because Claire's in all the shows, so Claire's everybody's friend.
And then they all walk into a police room together and look at each other, and they're all like, hey, who are those guys? And then I've just never, it's been like 2 episodes and they've just not been in it again. Yeah. I was like, I was really looking forward to seeing Foggy meet Trish. I don't know, that might have been interesting.
I don't know if you saw last year, slightly off topic, but Rosario Dawson accidentally let slip that she and John Bernthal will be in the MCU.
Awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah.
I think she's really good in those Netflix shows.
She's fantastic. She's one of my favorite things about them.
I think the biggest problem with Defenders is that the writing for Daredevil is fine. I assume it's not written by the same people who wrote the shows. So the writing for Daredevil is fine, except when he's in the courtroom, and it's like and it's like the opposite. Like normally Matt's slow and measured, and in this he's really fast. Yeah. But there was only one courtroom scene. I think
Daredevil's written by Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
Which is why why for a long time Kevin Feige, it's a long side thing, but Kevin Feige and Jeff Loeb hate each other, which is why for a long time Kevin Feige was like, it's not canon. And then I think obviously when Spider-Man came out and people were like, we want Daredevil, he was like, fine. And I think he likes Charlie Cox, he just doesn't like Jeff Loeb, so that's why it wasn't canon for a while.
Yeah, and the writing for Iron Fist is fine because obviously the writing in his show was also kind of terrible, so it doesn't make a lot of difference. It feels like they're not as good at writing Jessica. She's not as snappy and fun. But it also really feels, and I don't know if I'm correct about this, I haven't checked, but it really feels like it's written by somebody white. Yeah. And they are not comfortable carrying on the writing style of Luke Cage at all. And they're doing their best to write what they think of as the way black people speak. And it's cringe and awful. Yeah. That's not comfortable for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, even this, which I'm led to believe is the low point of all of the Netflix series, is better than all of the Disney Plus series except for She-Hulk and Hawkeye. And it's probably better than She-Hulk. I think it's only Hawkeye that might take it on this. And that's insane. Because this is supposed to be the bad one that I'll hate. And I'm like, yeah,
better than the Disney one.
It's quite fun, isn't it? Oh, they're all hanging out together. Oh, Elektra's back again. It's another one
Again.
about those ninjas. Remember in the second half of Daredevil season 2 where there were ninjas and everyone hated it, where they made them the bad guys in Iron Fist and
Yeah,
this.
I love how they were like, should we come up with new antagonists and new trials for them to face? No, we just get the guys back from last season.
Yeah, although the lady playing Madame Gao is really good, and she's
She is
been
really
really
good.
good throughout all of Daredevil and Iron Fist. And
She's very sinister.
yeah, she's really creepy. I really like her. But yeah, they're better than the Disney Plus shows. So yeah, I think going forward, everything's gonna suck. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'm going to watch the Marvels. I really like Captain Marvel. I like
Yeah, me
Kamala.
too.
I don't like the MCU version of Monica, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? Like,
I don't feel. I think what's worse than not liking her is I don't feel anything for her.
yeah,
And she's a really talented actor. I don't know if you ever watched Mad Men, but she's in Mad Men and she's
she's
brilliant.
brilliant in that.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and they've not really given her anything. I think even her origin was like, oh, we'll just sneak her in one division. It's like I think she deserves better than that.
Yeah.
And I was having this discussion. I think there's a big potential in the Marvels. This is the annoying thing with the 3 characters. I think there are great dynamics that can be explored either way. I don't know how much time you have to explore them with the 3 characters, because Kamala meeting her idol can be some really interesting comedic moments there, and she can learn that she doesn't need to look up to this person. She can grow to be her own person. That can be an arc in itself. And then Monica being like, you were supposed to be there for my mum and you disappeared. You went and saved everyone but my mum.
Yep. Also, good.
That's something. I don't know if you can explore all those things and whatever's happened to them with their powers, and obviously there's going to be an antagonist. I just can't see all of that being wrapped up in an hour and a half.
Yeah, I also kind of think like Kamala and Monica have nothing at
Yes.
all, and it's just a disadvantage that of the 3 dynamics that are present, 2 of them are really compelling, and one of them is like they don't know each other.
Yeah.
They're both
I'm
women.
a person and you're also a person.
They're
Hello.
both non-white women, so
Yeah.
maybe they'll pull from that.
There'll be something there, yeah.
Yeah, that's there's Loki season 2 coming up. We talked about how
Which I am
the trailer
looking forward
was-
to, yeah.
It was
looking
alright.
forward to that. Yeah.
I thought the first season was shit. So meh.
Fair enough.
What's Echo? Echo is coming out.
Echo was a really good character. I think for people like me, I'll give it a chance. I think in terms of, and this is the thing, they seem to forget about the general audience. The people who just kind of care about this stuff, by the time that series comes out, they're going to be like, who is this person again? Why should I care?
Where was she from?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's wild to be all like, it's a spin-off series for a side character from the Hawkeye TV show.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But yeah, Disney have said they're going to put all of that on Disney Plus on one day, Netflix style, which says to me that they don't have a lot of faith in it. And if they didn't think that Secret Invasion needed that, how bad is Echo going to be?
Yeah.
Right. Like, but yeah, I mean, I'll probably give it a go. And then next year we've got Deadpool 3, which I assume will be good.
Yeah.
It's
interesting. Someone made the point that that Deadpool 2 was also created during the middle of a writer's strike. So, who knows? That costume looks fun.
I think it'll probably be good. Hugh Jackman's always pretty good as Wolverine.
Give him the mask. Give him the mask, Kevin Feige. It's not stupid. I know you think it's stupid that people wear masks, but it's not. It's a very cool mask. It has been iconic for years for a reason. Give him the mask.
Well, also, I kind of feel like quite often it's a bit like you need to get used to Captain America's face, so we can't have Captain America wearing a silly mask all the time.
I mean, we're used to Hugh Jackman. It's been 20 years. Give him the mask.
That's what I think. It's like you don't need like iconic recognition of Hugh Jackman's face. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. Just put the mask on him. Then there's Captain America 4. I can't remember what that's called. Harrison Ford's in it.
It was. I think it's New World Order now, but it was something else at one point.
Cool. Sounds shy. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I think literally that movie's going to live and die based on Harrison Ford's performance. If he phones it in, it's just going to be what we expect it to be. I think if he feels like giving a crap, it could be really good.
Yeah, probably. And then there's Thunderbolts.
One thing I don't understand though is why have him be Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
Just have him be anyone else that doesn't like Bruce Banner or whoever.
I think Liv Tyler's in it, so I think that maybe
That's fine. She can just be who she was, and he can be a general that worked with her father.
I think that maybe it's going to be relevant to the plot that he's Thunderbolt Ross. That's the only reason I can think of that they'd bother to recast. Like,
But I mean, just make a new character who knows her, and then when obviously they backdoor the Thunderbolts at the end of this, just say that Thunderbolt Ross died working on this project and I'm taking over. That's it.
sure, yeah, whatever.
Because it's going to be super distracting because he's not William Hurt, he's Harrison Ford. Just give him any other name.
Yeah, I think that probably though most people won't notice. Like,
Yeah.
I think that probably most people watching it will be all like, "Sure, he's old military guy, whatever."
Yeah.
I can't remember what. Like,
I mean,
nobody's
also realistically, is Harrison Ford going to sit there and become Red Hulk in a couple of films? No, he's not. This is the one film he's doing, and we know it is. So just make him a new character.
and no one's going to remember. No one's going to remember William Hurt's performance in The Incredible Hulk. Like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really matter that he doesn't look the same. Like, you could think of him as a different guy to the one who was in Civil War telling them off for something, I think.
I guess it bugs me a bit, but I mean, yeah, that's my one pet peeve with the
Whatever.
film that I'm probably only going to watch once anyway. So
Yeah, and then there's Thunderbolts, which might be alright.
Thunderbolts,
I
which
mean,
has the potential to be the best of all of them, I think it's going to be rubbish.
it's got Florence Pugh in it,
Yeah,
so
carry a lot of it.
maybe she'll just carry the whole fucking
Here's the
thing.
thing, right? If the Suicide Squad had performed at the box office, I think that would have given Kevin Feige the incentive to make this really dark and funny and have them be actual anti-heroes. But because it didn't, they're going to be bad maybe for the first 10 minutes, and then they will be all regular Marvel heroes by the end of it. And the marketing would be like, ooh, these are the bad guys, but they won't be.
Yeah. I think it'll probably be shite, won't it? I assume there are also more Disney Plus shows coming, but
Probably.
I haven't got them on my list. And
Oh no, we're getting Agatha because that meme was
yeah.
popular for one weekend, so she now has her own show.
sure, maybe that'll be fun to
I mean,
watch.
it's been how many projects since, and no one's really explained what the deal was with Quicksilver. Like, but she gets her own show. That's great.
Yeah, I don't care.
Kamala's a mutant. We're not even discussing that, but Agatha gets a show.
Yeah, probably shit. So yeah, all in. I imagine that I'll carry on. Logan asked me. I think I told you, but I don't know if it was on the podcast. But Logan asked me, at what point do I stop watching all of this Marvel shit? And I've come to the conclusion that I probably won't. I'll probably keep watching it because I don't think it's long. I don't think that the MCU is going to keep justifying its funding for much longer.
No.
I think it's I think it's completely feasible that on that fucking endless 6-year roadmap they've got, where they're all like, in 2041 we'll release
You didn't even
Avengers
mention-
17.
You didn't even mention, so next year what we do have is the first of the 2 Avengers films.
I think that's been delayed to the year afterwards.
Good. I was gonna say because that's building towards Secret Wars, and Secret Wars is going to suffer from the same fate that Civil. And I love Civil War. I do love Civil War, but you and I remember how cool it was reading Civil War, the comic book, opening that double spread page and seeing a character in every single inch of the image. Then watching it on a big screen and seeing 7 people run at another 7 people, and
Yeah.
Secret Wars is supposed to be that times 100.
Yep, it's gonna be shy.
And you don't have the characters. You not only do you not have the characters, you don't have the characters that I'm invested in.
Yeah, I don't care enough.
Even though the original was only made to sell toys, we cared about the characters. And them being in a battle world with aliens who fight to the death was terrifying. But I'll be honest with you, if you kill everyone in this current phase, I will not care, with the exception of maybe Elena.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they all died, I'd be all like, all right, fine, whatevs. Like, I think that, like, isn't it suck that the best bit of Civil War is the Punisher's bit and he's not in the movie? Like, that's like the Punisher's
Exactly.
stuff in Civil War is so good.
It's so good.
So good. And like it's just completely, in fairness, Cable's side role in Civil War is cool as well. Lots of stuff in Civil War, the comic book. I really like
Wolverine's death in Civil War was really cool.
Yeah, loads of cool stuff, but they can't do that because
They can't do that.
They only got 6 people. So fuck it all. Basically, I'm gonna carry on watching it.
This is super upsetting because I remember.
No, we can
When you-
do. we can do Superman shit, and we can talk about old things, and we can
Yeah,
watch.
but listen, I remember. Did you see Avengers with us?
You, me, and Nick, I think.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, and I think
yeah.
Dave was there. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And yeah, I remember feeling like a 10-year-old kid when I
Yeah.
watched that because it's
Yeah.
like this is real. It's a good film and it's got good actors and they've spent money on it. And I waited for this since I was a kid. And how have they ruined that? And I know it's not because I'm cynical, because yeah, I am cynical, but it's not purely because I'm cynical. It's just not as good anymore.
I was already pretty fucking jaded about movies in general by the time Avengers came out. It's definitely not that I've gotten grumpier.
Right.
Like, if anything,
And
I
here's the
think
thing.
I'm-
Here's the thing. I've enjoyed a bunch of stuff. Just last week, recently, I fell in love with the Barbie movie. There's been like it got overhyped to death, but I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. There are
yeah.
great movies by great directors, great writers. Hollywood is not running out of ideas. The MCU is, and it's a shame because the MCU should have a foot up on every other studio because you have decades and decades and decades of incredible original storytelling to just pick from.
yeah.
Weird stories, fun stories, romantic stories, space age. Like, you got so much stuff. You got stuff for kids, stuff for adults, dark stuff with political themes. Like, have some balls and start adapting the good stuff and adapt it properly.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that, like, again, the thing that works with those Netflix shows is that instead of going, hey, it's like a sitcom, but actually it's just the same thing again, they really lean in. Like, Daredevil is a lawyer show a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, it has a lot of law stuff. Jessica Jones is a show about a PI. Luke Cage is a kind of blaxploitation thing. And Iron Fist, even if it's a shit kung fu show, it is a kung fu show.
It deals with like mystic elements.
Yeah,
And
like
yeah.
at least they've tried to make
Yeah.
something different. Whereas, like, if I go and see one more movie where everybody sounds like Iron Man, and then they have to fight a guy who's wearing the same thing as them but a bit eviler, a bit pointier, and then there's a lot of CGI, and the bad guys are like, I've got 1,000 alien people, and they're all going to run at you, and then they're all like, well, I've got 1,000 CGI regular people, and they're all going to run together, and they're all going to run at each other.
So one thing I really like about Punisher, and I know a lot of people don't like this because it makes you have to feel things, but one thing that Marvel loves to do is, as you say, they're all aliens, they're faceless aliens, they don't really feel anything when they're killed, but like Punisher kills a lot of actual people with names, and it forces you, the viewer, to make that decision. Am I going to support this person?
Yeah, and then
You
they
know?
like fall down and cry, and then he shoots them anyway, and it's
Yeah.
like, and it's really effective. Like, but even like there's stuff in Daredevil, like there was in the second season when at the start when they're still chasing the Punisher, they have like a mafia guy who they're like trying to guard, and Frank's trying to kill him, and like he's like a bit part character. He's only in it for a little bit, but they say a lot with him, and he's interesting, and it's just like, yeah, it's not like, I don't know if you saw, but James Gunn tweeted a thing where he said, I don't think it's superhero fatigue, I think it's like shit movie fatigue, because
100%.
my ones are doing fine. And I think that's like, yeah, it's they're like, I think that they were always like, I will say I will defend to death, it's always been spotty. Like, there were shit movies in phase one, but there was a level of novelty there.
Yeah.
Like, and that has worn off, and they have done nothing whatsoever to replace anything. Like, I have, now that I'm not just like, hey, comic book character that I know on movie, that's fun, there's nothing else there.
Yeah.
And it's also like, it's, you know, like when somebody tells you a joke, it can be funny, but once you've heard that joke 40 times, it's not funny. And
Yeah.
like, I can like I think that if they release the movies they're releasing now first, exactly as they are, regardless of how confusing that would be, I think I'd probably love them loads. I don't think they're like worse. I just think I've seen it so many times that I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But see, that's this why I'm saying look at the material, because someone like Vision had been viewed pretty much the same way by the general comic book audience for decades, since before you and I were born. He's a character from the 60s, and he was just that boring android. Then the Vision series comes out, and he's this weird creature that wants to be human but doesn't quite understand what it's like to be human, and he builds himself a creepy house in the suburbs with a creepy family, and he's sending his kids to school, and they're just reciting Wikipedia articles, and it's like, that's not what being human is. You know, you can talk about love, but you can't feel it. And that's a really interesting story with barely any fighting or action in it. It's about the character study. And this is a character that it won awards. It was like lauded by people. It brought people back to comics who hadn't read comics in years. Same thing with Hawkeye. For years he was just the boring guy in the Avengers, and then they decided, let's lean into that and let's talk about what it must be like to be struggling to pay your bills.
Yeah, what it's like to be the boring guy in the Avengers.
To be the boring guy in the Avengers.
Like, that's interesting.
You know, there's a great moment in the original book where I think he saves the day, and he's like, don't worry everyone, I'm an Avenger. And someone's like, are you Iron Fist? Like, that's his life. He's the guy you kind of sort of know from the Avengers. And it just breathed so much life into that. And once again, award-winning book. It brought people back into comics. So it's not like you and I are just going, oh, do this, and backseat driving and having no frame of reference. There is a frame of reference. These books that you've done that continually and like repeatedly, people over time have said, this is fantastic. This reminded me what comics can be, what these characters can be, what I can feel for these things. It's there. And you had to do it because people were having the same fatigue for the source material. Now they're having the fatigue for the adaptations. Dig into the bag of chips and pull out something new, because you can't keep repeating the same formula. It's tired.
I also think there's this narrative that's formed where people are like, the reason why Avengers was good was because all the characters got their own movies first. And I think that was good, but it's not the only way to do it. Like, there was a similar thing where people were, when Justice League was shit, people were all like, oh, well, they've not had time. They needed to do a movie for each of the characters. And it's all like, I have read so many comic books where in the first issue, they effectively establish a team. Like, it's not hard. Like, you could have
once again, I know I've mentioned it probably 4 times this episode already, but James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is actually a great example, because in the first, they try and cram a bunch of characters in and you don't care. In his, everyone gets mentioned or introduced in the first 10 minutes. And you know who they are, you enjoy them. There's a bit of banter to establish their individual voices. You see them physically in action, so you know what their powers are and what their limitations are. And that's it. You're along for the ride. It's doable.
And that's the thing, is that there's a level at which, like, if you think about Avengers Disassembled to New Avengers, like, they killed off all of the Avengers except for, like, 2 in that comic book. And then the next fucking week, they were all like, here's a new Avengers comic book. The team are different. And they just established, and again, they were characters that we knew mostly, but there were some of them that I didn't know at the time, and they needed to establish who all of them were, and they, except for maybe Spider-Man and Wolverine, and they did, and like, they could have done another Avengers movie directly after Endgame with a completely different team, and if they'd have got somebody good to write it, it would have been fine. The problem is not that the problem is not any of this structural shit that's become an obsession. Like, they should do it like this. They should.
Do you know how many people I know who haven't even seen the first Avenger?
Yeah.
So it's like, the argument doesn't hold up.
The problem is shit writing, not anything else. And that's that's kind of and
it's a cliche, and it's been said a bunch of times. I don't know where it originated from, but there's a very famous quote in writing that there are no bad characters, only bad writers.
Like, that's the thing. That's why everybody thinks Superman's shit, because writing Batman is like the basic bitch, easy grade. Oh, I'm Batman. It's the Joker's there. Any moderately talented writer can do a Batman story. Writing Superman is it's
hard.
Top level Dark Souls of writing things.
Yeah,
it is absolutely impossible to write Superman well, and it's been done about 4 times ever. And people think Superman's shit, but Superman's not shit.
He's incredible.
The people they're paying to write him are shit. Anybody, I defy anybody to read like What Happened to the Man of Tomorrow or All Star Superman and not come out of it being all like, wow, Superman's amazing. It's just not possible. Like, it's all crap, and I hate it. 0 out of 10. I'm
really rooting for James Gunn, and there's 2 elements to it. One, I just like him, and I think he's going to make some great movies because he loves the source material. And 2, into relation to what we're talking about today, I think he possibly, if he's able to get that box office success, it's going to light the fire up Marvel's ass, where Feige's going to have to be like, okay, I can't keep doing this. We need to take chances.
And as I said last time, I don't care if it's successful. If we get one good James Gunn Superman film, I'm fine with that. in fairness, like it's like we were talking about Oppenheimer and stuff. It's like it's wild that they're still like, what we need is 30 movies connected to sub characters from this shit. Like, just it's like if they saw the success of Oppenheimer and they were all like, right, let's get fucking Niels Bohr the movie out. It's insane. Like, it's not about the fact that it's a film about scientists. It's about the fact that it's a good film. That's why it's been successful. Barbie is not about the fact it's a toy. It's about the fact it's a good. I don't want to go see Rubik's Cube movie.
No one does.
Yeah, like, I don't want to go and see. Like, in fairness,
I think another thing as well is, we might have discussed this off air last time, but look, I love Marvel, and you and I both come from an era when we used to read multiple comics a week every month of the year. But if it means I get one good project rather than 3 mediocre films, Marvel just cut back, have one show, one film a year, and make them good.
Yeah, I was saying to Beth earlier, like, I found, like, we were talking about the Game of Thrones books, and Beth was like, surely it'd be better to just get whatever he's got out, even if he doesn't like it. And I was all like, I would rather have nothing. I would rather there was never another book in that series than him release something that he knows is bad. And like, I've read enough.
Which is what I think is probably the issue, because he's saying that, he's not gotten there. I think he has. I think he's gotten there several times.
Yeah.
And is probably dealing with the weight of expectations.
I think he's probably written 18 novels worth of stuff and scrapped it by now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's not writing. I think that he hates everything he's writing. And
yes.
And if he knows it's bad, don't do it. Like, that's... Yeah. I've read enough fucking manga series that just wind on after they should have ended and have a crap ending and have a perfectly good point where they could have ended earlier on, but the publisher said no. And like, I'd rather have nothing than something bad. Yeah.
Well, it's like, going back to a character of Elektra, Frank Miller killed her off, and he was like, that was the story. She doesn't need to be brought back. And no story since she's been brought back has been anywhere near as good as what he did. There's been some issues that look pretty, but you don't feel anything for them because there's no new story to tell. He told the story and it was done well.
Yeah, I would argue that I've never really enjoyed the character of Jean Grey post Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
And like, I've never really enjoyed Colossus after they brought him back in. What's Joss Whedon's
Colossus
X-Men
is probably
series?
the best example of it. Like, that was like grown men were weeping in comic book stores.
Dream's End is like one of the best comic books I've ever read. And then like, I think he comes back in, it's Astonishing X-Men, the Joss Whedon one, which is shite, by the way. Absolutely crap. And they bring Colossus back, and the bad guy is that frog with a pair of sunglasses over his nose. He's fucking terrible. It's like you can see the one thing Joss Whedon does. Like, everybody else is X-Men, so they already have the way that they're supposed to look. And then there's the thing, and it looks like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer villain. And not a good one. Like a season 7 Buffy the Vampire Slayer villain of the week. And he's called like Ord of the Bad World. Or
something.
What?
It's very rare that someone joins the X-Men, a writer, and makes good new characters. I don't remember the last I happened. I think maybe Grant Morrison, but like, use the characters that are already there.
Grant Morrison added Charles Xavier's sister, who he ate in the womb. She's alright. I like her. She's living in his brain because he ate her when they were both fetuses. Like that. She's
comics great.
And he added those 3 teenage girls who were like Emma Frost's like thingies. At some point, they added that character who's Apocalypse's son. I think that might even be after Grant Morrison. I think that was around AVX time, and that he's good. He's a good character.
But it's rare. And the thing is, for me, I mean, completely getting sidetracked, but X-Men is the one book when it's not necessary. There are 1,000 characters in that book. Just use one of the characters that Stan Lee created in the 70s and never used again.
But it's also one of the books where anybody should be able to add something, because you can add whatever you fucking want.
I guess, but most of them aren't good. It's always like, oh yeah, you guys like Wolverine. Wait till you meet Blurg. He vomits cherries. Like, I don't care.
But I prefer Blurg, who vomits cherries, to, hey, you guys like Wolverine. It's 4th Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like, it's Wolverine's kid, or it's a girl who they gave Wolverine's powers, or it's Wolverine's brother, or it's Wolverine's dad. Like,
I'm really impressed that no one has done Black Wolverine. Like, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, I would rather have this guy's power is that he can like squint at lights and they go out than then it's basically Cyclops again, except for this time the beams come out of his ears. Which is
This time it's Squinto.
Yeah, Squinto sounds fucking wonderful. Honestly, one of the things I love most about X-Men is the rich depth of terrible characters.
Yeah.
Like, even the ones who are quite popular, like, Marrow's an awful... Like,
Marrow is Wolverine. Marrow is Wolverine.
Nah,
she's just grosser.
No, she's got bonitis. She's got uncontrollable bonitis, and all her bones are just, like, coming out everywhere.
And what I love is they were like, so we already made Wolverine lame and a woman. What if he was lame and black? And that's just Spike. Actually, yeah, there you go. There is a black Wolverine. It's just Spike from the TV show.
There you go, yeah. But yeah, like, I think that X-Men's got a lot of potential, but we're not going to see that for 1,000 years.
We're not going to see for 2 years, yeah. So, I mean, what we've got... So here's the thing. I think, for those who don't know, we are apparently around the corner from X-Men 97, which is the continuation of the animated series. It was premiered at SDCC, but people weren't allowed to take photos or talk about it. The people who have like tweeted bits about it have said, obviously I'm not going to give you details, but it is good. Voice acting is apparently fantastic.
Is the original X-Men 97 on Disney Plus? Can I watch
yes,
that on
it
Disney
is. Yeah. Yes, it is. And this is apparently like this starts like I think a year after that ends.
Although
so I think the difference.
Maybe I'll watch a YouTube video summing it up rather than fucking 14 seasons of 97.
It's wild, but like apparently it's kept that animation style. It's very well done. The voice acting's good, and there's kind of hints at what maybe happened between the two series. So there's mysteries to be uncovered. So I'm just bringing it up to say, hopefully, if it's good, it shows that there's some potential for the X-Men in the Marvel universe. I don't know. I'm very depressed. I want to move on to what's really good because I'm very upset. What I will say is, before we move on to what's really good, let us know your thoughts. Is the MCU dead? If it is, how do you think they can bring it back? If it's not, tell us why we're wrong. You can tweet us at Panels and Bars. You can find us on Instagram, send us a DM. We're on TikTok as well. But let us know what you think of the current state of the lifeless body that is the MCU. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll figure it out, and there will be a preview on our social media. Until next time, take care. Peace.
Bye.